Is the longest minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the January 6, 2022 meeting of the Columbia County Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Sir, if I could please ask you to remove your hat while you're in the meeting. Thank you very much. If you'd stand with us, Commissioner Futch will lead us to our invocation. Commissioner Caraway will lead us to the pledge.
Bow our heads. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us gather and work
Flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all.
Caught me off guard there. I thought you were going to get wound up for a good one, and you fooled me. We do have 4 or 5 commissioners present tonight for an 80% quorum. Gentlemen, you've had a chance to review the minutes from our December 16th meeting. If there are no additions or amendments, I need a motion for approval.
I make a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve the minutes passes 3 with 1 abstention. Gentlemen, we also have one item we need to remove from the agenda. I believe we need to remove officers' elections until next meeting, okay? I need a motion to make that change to the agenda.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Motion to amend the agenda passes 4-0. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to clarify that the Planning Commission is a recommending body to the Columbia County Board of Commissioners. Decisions made on rezoning and variance requests tonight will be forwarded to the Commissioners for final action on January 18th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in these chambers. If you wish to address the Board of Commissioners at their meeting, please see Ms. Kara Harden, and she'll provide you a request to speak for them. We're less formal in these chambers. I see some new faces in here tonight. If you do have something you'd like to add during our public hearing section of the meeting, raise your hand. We'll ask you to come up to the microphone. You can use your finger to move the pointer or draw lines on the screen, and give us what you would like to consider in 3 to 5 minutes. If you have something that's not on the agenda that you'd like to voice and get on the record, we do have a public speaking section at the end of the meeting. We'll ask you to come up and again give us the information in 3 to 5 minutes. With that being said, let's move into our first item of the evening. Mr. Butler, massage operator's license for Soul Cave and Spa.
There's Sheriff's request for massage operator's license at Soul Cave and Spa at 7013 Evans Town Center Boulevard, Suite 201. 2 applicants on the application. They both meet the requirements, and staff recommends approval of the request.
Gentlemen, any questions to staff? This is not a public hearing, so I need a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the massage operator's license for Soul Cave and Spa located at 7013 Evans Town Center Boulevard.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 4-0. All right, Mr. Butler, are you going to present the information-only minor waiver?
I am. This is a minor waiver we approved on December 15th, 2021. Is at 2051 Egret Circle. It's currently zoned PUD, and it shows the location of the property within River Island, and also the zoning, again, planning and development. So the issue with the request that we've already approved here has a 15-foot minimum building line. You can see that the foundation is within that setback at 14.75 feet or 14 feet 9 inches at its closest point. So due to that, we did reduce the building setback by 1.5 feet down to 13.5 feet, which will cover all of that. And again, we approved it back on December 15th.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Montgomery, Mr. Butler, which one of y'all wants to handle the first public hearing, file RZ 220101?
This is a request for rezoning from S1 to RA at 5457 Tubman Road. Currently zoned RA. The request is for single-family residential use. Shows location of the property on the north side of Tubman Road. And again, the zoning is S1. You see everything around it is currently zoned RA. And also, so back in '97, the property was rezoned to S1. for this business here, which was a kennel that was open for a few years and then subsequently closed and the property was sold. The applicant is looking to add a ancillary dwelling to the property, which is not possible with an S1 without doing a major revision. So they requested to rezone the property to RA. No issues with that. Again, like I mentioned before, everything around it is zoned RA. They did not plan to have the business there, so it doesn't really make sense to keep the S1 at this point anyway. There's an aerial view of the property, and also the existing site for the house, and also the plat of the property. And in terms of future land use, this is within the rural neighborhoods area. Again, fully meets the intent of that area, and staff recommends approval of the request.
Gentlemen, any questions of staff? Is the applicant here this evening? Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, disapprove, or to table.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve file RZ 22-01-01, rezoning from S1 to RA at 5457 Tubman Road.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? To approve carries 4-0. Ms. Montgomery, file RZ 220102.
Yes, sir. This is a request for a rezoning from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to M1 Light Industrial at 4165 Wheeler Road. Property is located on the north side of Wheeler Road, just west of the intersection with Flowing Wells Road, and is currently zoned C1 from a 1968 zoning file. You can see around this property we have quite a few light industrial properties, particularly towards I-20, as well as some additional commercial properties adjacent to the subject parcel. This is the aerial of the site with the existing building and the former street view. This property was formerly a dry cleaning business. The applicant purchased the property last year and has been in the process of renovating it for his business, which is a cabinet shop. That is a light industrial use per our code and is not allowed in the C1 zoning district. So when he did go to submit his application to move the business license, that was caught during that review, that the property needed to be rezoned to allow him to operate here. He does have some additional improvements planned, including some landscaping and fencing on the site. The fencing will address a little bit further with the variance as it kind of relates to the buffers required on the property. In terms of future development, this property is in the Interstate Employment Activity Center on the future development map. This area is intended to provide for employment and mix of uses, including commercial uses, business and industrial parks, and light and heavy industrial uses. The proposed light industrial use is in keeping with this intent, and staff is recommending approval.
Okay, gentlemen, any questions, of staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Is there anything you'd like to add? All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to postpone.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve file RZ 0102, rezoning from C1 to M1 at 4165 Wheeler Road.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 4-0. Ms. Montgomery, we got a companion variance to that, file VA 220101.
Yes, sir. This is a request for variances to sections 90-98, our list of lot and structure requirements, and 90-139, buffers and screening for the same property on Wheeler Road. Again, this is the location of the property on the north side of Wheeler Road, currently zoned C1, although it is under consideration for rezoning to M1. Of note here are the zonings of the adjacent properties. The property to the north is C1 also. The property to the west is CC. These are both basically straight commercial zoning districts. The C3 property to the east is considered more similar to the industrial zoning districts, and that impacts the buffer and setback requirements on the sides of this property. So this is the aerial of the site with the existing building and the existing site. So in terms of the required buffers and setbacks with the M1 rezoning, where this property is not adjacent to other industrial type uses, the required setback is 30 feet with a required 20-foot buffer, as you can see here. The existing building is within those setbacks and buffers as it's currently sitting on the property. So the intent of the variance is to bring the existing building into conformance and allow its continued use. The applicant is proposing to install fencing around the kind of western and rear portions of the site. There is some existing vegetation in this western side area as well. There is a condition requested to retain some of that or to potentially replant some of that to maintain a buffer there. However, this property, even though it is zoned commercial, is another contractor's office, so it is very similar in use and should be zoned similarly, and the reduction in the buffer there from the normal 20 feet down to 10 is therefore less of a concern. And again, this is that side yard. The applicant is using it for some parking, so providing the buffer there would kind of take away some of the usability of the site for him. Staff is recommending approval of the variances with conditions. The building setbacks are reduced to match the existing building location, with any additional construction required to meet the normal setbacks. The buffer along the western property line to be reduced to a 10-foot structural buffer, and the buffer along the rear property line reduced to a structural buffer only, requiring the solid fence as shown on the concept plan. That concludes the staff recommendation.
Gentlemen, any questions, staff? So, do y'all have anything you'd like to add? All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak either for or against this particular variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve with conditions, to disapprove, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve with conditions file VA 220101, variances to reduce buffers and setbacks, 4165 Wheeler Road.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? To approve carries 4-0. Ms. Montgomery will stay with you for file RZ 220103.
Yes, sir. This is a request for a major revision at 1028 Bartram Ridge. This is located in Section 10 of Bartram Trail and is currently zoned planned unit development. This is an aerial of the site. It does not look like this at the moment. It's a slightly older aerial. There is a house under construction on this site. These are the approved plans from that construction that show the elevation and the proposed location on the lot. You can see the lot line, setback line, so it was designed to meet the required 10-foot setback on this property. And it is under construction, as you can see here. Unfortunately, when they laid this out on site, they marked the property line incorrectly. So you can see the correct property line in blue. They pulled the line to the wrong pin over here to the right, so kind of marked the property line on an angle, and then constructed the foundation at a 10-foot setback from that property line as marked. That does put the foundation in the house essentially on the property line and certainly within the setback. So the proposal is to adjust the property line, so the red line being the existing property line, the green line being the proposed new property line, and reduce the side setback for this lot to 7.5 feet to accommodate the construction on the site. So this shows that does accommodate both houses as proposed. We'll be covering this lot with the next application, but this shows that with the new property line and the new setback, the house would then be in compliance with the revision. This is the existing site. The HOA has approved this. The house obviously does not sit exactly square to the road, but it's not significantly off, and the HOA has, again, approved this application. In terms of future development, this is in the neighborhood's character area. It does remain a single-family residential use, so there's no concerns from that aspect. And staff is recommending approval with the conditions that the side building setback is reduced to 7.5 feet only for the east side property line, and that revised grading plans are required and must be submitted and approved prior to construction continuing on the site.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions of staff? Is the applicant here this evening? Yes, sir. Is there anything you'd like to add? All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve with conditions, to disapprove, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve with conditions file RZ 220103, major PUD revision to reduce the side setback at 1028 Bartram Ridge.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 4-0. Ms. Montgomery will stay with you for file RZ 220104.
Yes, sir. This is the major revision for the adjacent parcel at 1030 Bartram Ridge. This is also in Section 10 of Bartram Trail and is currently zoned planned unit development. Again, the aerial doesn't look exactly like this on site anymore. It is kind of being graded and in the process of getting under construction. And here's the plat of the property. This does have an approved house plan. They are in the process of making some revisions to that to accommodate the revisions to the plat. So this was the previous approved plan. And as we discussed with the previous one, the intent is to shift this lot line over that does intrude into the buildable area on the subject lot. So they have adjusted the house plan site slightly and are proposing the same setback reduction to 7.5 feet from that side property line to accommodate construction space for this subject lot. Again, this is in the neighborhood's character area. It remains a single-family use, so there are no concerns from that aspect. And staff recommends approval with essentially the same conditions, just reduction of the side setback, 7.5 feet applies only to the west property line adjacent to the previous property, and the revised grading plans are required for this lot as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions? Okay, is the applicant here? If there's anything you'd like to add? All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to approve with conditions, to disapprove, or to table.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve with conditions, file RZ 2201-04, major PUD revision to reduce the side setback at 1030 Bartram.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 4-0. Mr. Butler, file RZ 220105.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request for rezoning at 1209 Lakeview Drive from RA to S1 Special for a commercial concrete company on 21.2 acres. This is the location of the property on the north side of Lakeview Drive. And the current zoning of the property is RA, as is everything around it. And also aerial view of the property. And also the existing site. And also, well, let me go back. Let's go back to the existing site picture. So they've been using the property since 2015. They constructed this building here recently, within the past year or two. The reason we kind of found out about this is they pulled a permit for a temporary pole. You can see it right here. And then one of the questions was, there's a building on the site we have no permit for. Code enforcement got involved, and that's why we're here today, is to kind of figure out how to move forward with the property itself. So this is the existing building that was constructed. Again, about 1,500 square feet. Again, it is some connexes with some roofs connecting them together. And it shows the plat of the property. Again, we're dealing with this one right here. And also the proposed development plan. So again, this has been constructed already. This over here is proposed to be it's a little bit under 4,000 square feet, a metal building. They do have storage, as you saw on the aerial, kind of out in this area here. The metal building itself would have a warehouse within it as well as an office. They have about 4 employees that will be there on a daily basis from about 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. They do have a buffer proposed around the property of 40 feet and also a setback of 40 feet to the property itself. Again, as an S1, we do call this a development plan. They have to stick to this. They have a narrative they have to have as well, so they cannot deviate from that or this plan itself without coming back before this body and also the Board of Commissioners.
So you're saying that they can't deviate from the plan, so whatever's approved here,
Yes.
you can't put a batch plant, you can't put a dog barn there, you can't put a car wash, you can't do anything else but exactly what's approved here.
Exactly. You can only have Dixieland Walls, which is a contractor that builds concrete walls. That's it. That's all you can do there. So again, going back to
He's not
this,
constructing walls there.
he's not constructing walls as far as we're aware. So, again, going back to the site itself, he's not showing any removal of any of the existing buffer on the property. So again, it will have quite a substantial buffer, much more than the 40 feet that they've shown here. In terms of the overall request, yes, this doesn't meet the zoning in the area. However, they have been there for 6 years with no complaints. It is located in the middle of a large site. This is one of those situations where it makes sense in some respects to do this. It's something that You can do quite a lot in RA. You can do farming. You can have all kinds of things that can cause lots of issue. In this situation with the S1, we think that the way they're developing it, the way they have used it in the past, it shouldn't really be a detriment to the neighboring properties. Again, the future development side of things, it's in rural neighborhoods. It does not meet that. It is not a neighborhood use. It is not, for an agricultural use or anything like that. But again, because of the S1, because of how they're using it, because of the size of the property, because of the location of it, we're okay moving forward with the request. Now, there is a condition with it in regards to the unpermitted structure. It has to be permitted. Also, had an engineer stamp plan for that as well. But again, staff does recommend approval with condition of the request.
I do have one question on this. Does this set any kind of precedent for us, or have we done this before?
We've done it before. Also, we're being very narrow in how we're defining this. We're saying because of the size of the property, because of how they're developing it, that is why we're okay with it. If we were to just say, yeah, it's an S1 for this business, whatever, we're fine. I don't think we're setting a precedent. Again, setting a precedent is a difficult argument to make anyway, but I think we're being narrow enough to be acceptable.
Now, does the S1, let's say the property owner decides to sell in the future, does the S1 carry and that use carries forward and that somebody would have to come forward with a rezoning to do anything any
That's
different with
correct.
that property?
Yep. Yeah, but they wanted to put a farm there, they have to change it back to something else.
Similarly to the previous request tonight, where they were considered removing the S1 for the dog grooming business that no longer is in operation.
Okay.
Similar to that.
Mr. Chairman, something that probably should be pointed out. From a neighbor point of view, people who live around this, most people weren't even concerned until they saw the sign go up. And I can understand that getting people's attention. However, this being what it is and has never intruded on anybody in the surrounding area is much better as a neighbor than if he sold this property and let's say somebody wanted to develop it. And you'd have more traffic, more people, more et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in my mind, the fact that nobody's complained for these 5 or 6 years tells me that it hadn't been causing a problem. I just thought I'd like to make that statement for the record.
Gentlemen, do we have any other questions of staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Would you like to come forward and give us any additional information? Please give us your name and home address.
It is not, I think the people got upset thinking it was a commercial concrete plant. We do not sell concrete. We are a subcontractor. We do labor only. We
So
go,
there's no batch plant going in.
Batch
That's been the word on the street, is there's a batch plant going in there.
it's not a batch plant, no kind of way, no form. We do foundations, retaining walls. We work at Fort Gordon a lot.
So you do federal walls, don't you? Okay.
Yeah, all our employees go to the site. No, some days, nobody goes to that property. And the building is, way future. The county just encouraged us to, if you're gonna do S1, put what you might do in the next 10 years. We're not searching for that building tomorrow or anytime in the next couple of years. We're happy with the little connexes, and we just wanted power. That was our main thing. And then all this blew up into that.
If I can ask a question, you're in the construction business.
Yes.
Why'd you build something without getting a permit?
It's not a building. I mean, it's a connex.
Is it
And all we did
but
was.
it's a building according to the county.
Okay.
Would that be correct?
To me, it was not a building.
Okay, I understand.
There's 2 connexes there that we store materials in, and we said, hey, we could keep our wood dry if we just put a little roof on this.
Sure.
And we built it with extra wood that we had left over from a job.
I can, just if you've ever got a question, don't hesitate to call the county. Takes 5 minutes, and we could avoid all this.
Okay. But, I mean, we would've still got there with the power.
Sure, I understand.
But what we do, on a rainy day, we'll go in there and clean up our forms and build new forms or whatever else. Other than that, it's just leftover storage stuff, and we may send a truck there once a week to go get some forms and take it to a job. Employees don't go there on a daily basis. They won't go in there on a daily basis. Rainy day work and slow work that we're up there cleaning up. And none of this can be seen from the road at, any point from anywhere.
Apparently it hadn't caused a problem before.
Yeah, we've had no complaints, we've been there 6 years.
So you don't know.
I've had neighbor, kids come in there and vandalize stuff.
So you don't know when or if you'll build that
No,
building?
no, it may not. We don't need it. I mean, we're happy with it.
All right, gentlemen, any
Just
other questions?
encouraged, you know, by the county if you.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir, we appreciate it. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward, give us your name and home address.
My name is Carla Harrison. I live at 1467 Lakeview Drive. I have a lot to say about this. The problem is Lakeview Drive is a city street, City of Grovetown, the paved portion. The rest of it is an unpaved county portion of the road that apparently was supposed to be paved a decade ago. And it's never been done. So we have at the end of Lakeview Drive, the wastewater treatment facility that Grovetown has been building for the last several years. There's been a lot of trucks back and forth, backup alarms, all that kind of stuff. Everyone assumed that it was all for that, and then we found out it wasn't all for that. The property in question, the neighbor went and asked one day, what's getting built up there? Because there was all these backup alarms and things like that, and the workers inferred that it was a house. So everybody thought, okay, a big house is coming back there, we're not gonna worry about it. And then this rezoning thing came up. The biggest, well, I have a lot of concerns. When it all came up and everybody got excited about it, I started researching it a little bit. The inference is there's been a business up there for 6 years. The property was sold 3 years ago. If they're operating as a business up there, why am I paying more taxes on my almost 8 acres that I have? We pay almost $7,000 a year in taxes. They paid $400 last year for a business on 20-plus acres. This is just, things don't match up to me. When you look at the sale of the property, and when you look at the taxes that have been paid, I don't know if there's a septic system up there now and a well has been dug. Apparently there is a structure been built with 0 permits from a contractor. It all just screams shenanigans to me. And this is where I live. They're developing at the other end of Lakeview. Lakeview runs into Parham, and we all know there's a huge development coming in down there, which is awesome. Glad it's doing it. But we have to ask that the county, because we're squeezed right in that, we're in this little area of the city of Grovetown. We've got county over here, and we got county behind us. So we have to ask that the county keep us in mind as you all are developing out that way. And remember, my area is a subdivision. The end of Lakeview Drive, as we know it, dead ends into a dirt road. It's not closed off, so the traffic does go up and down. All the traffic from that hill, when they have to come and regrade it, they go down the paved road, and so our paved road suffers a little bit. So I just ask that you keep that in mind as we're looking at developments at Parham and Gordon Highway. We've got Gate 6 that opened. We've got all of that traffic now coming up Newmantown Road and Parham Road. Newmantown Road, I can't even tell you how many times I've come close to a head-on collision on that road. It's crazy. But it's in that area that's Richmond County, Columbia County, the city of Grovetown. And it's the same thing with Lakeview Drive. It's the city, it goes into the county, it cuts off into Woodland Road, which I don't even know who owns that one. But it all dumps out onto Newman. So I hear you say, Mr. Butler, that it's not a big deal, it's not a big change to the area. I would say, yes, it is. It is, because what he's doing now is maybe not what he's gonna do in 4 years or even next year.
He would have to come back in front of us and ask for a change, because with S1 zoning, it is an approved use for a single use, and that's it. He can't do anything else.
Correct.
Even if he sells it.
Correct, but then the justification, I heard Mr. Dempsey say, it's better than planned development and a bunch of houses and stuff up there.
You don't agree with that?
No, I agree with that completely, but I would argue that approving this doesn't stop that. He could sell that lot and it could change tomorrow. Or one
Not
of the
without
other
proper
lots.
zoning, it couldn't.
Okay, the other lots, any of those could be rezoned, just like we're doing here today. We could talk about rezoning it into something else.
Ms. Harrison, I'm gonna have to ask you to yield. We usually limit
Okay.
folks to 5 minutes, so I've given you a little longer than that.
Okay, I
All right.
appreciate it. I just
Yes,
asked you
ma'am.
to consider
Thank you.
it.
I do have one question. Since we're so close to Grovetown there, did, we submitted a request for input to the city of Grovetown?
Yes,
Didn't
we
we?
did.
Did we hear anything back?
No concerns.
Okay, no concerns at all. Okay. No concerns they didn't respond, or,
No concerns.
Response, or they-
We had all kinds of discussion about it.
okay, could you,
Sure.
Elaborate.
One of the things that they were concerned with was Lakeview Drive. They said, what kind of traffic is it gonna have? We said, well, here's what they've told us. Our traffic guys are not really concerned about it either. So they said, okay, we're okay with that. So that was as far as it went.
okay, all right. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Yes, ma'am, please come forward, give us your name and home address.
That was my husband that just spoke up here earlier. I think the tax comment was a little bit misleading because the parcel behind it was in a larger parcel that was a partnership. So she looked up the Lakeview Drive. We bought that parcel.
Was that in a
It's a-
conservation easement? Has this been bought out of a conservation easement?
Don't know.
Because it's part of a larger tract, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Not, the one behind it is not currently. Either is the front one, not the
Okay.
subject property.
Okay.
Neither of them are in conservation.
So, you know, what she's commenting on as far as the taxes, I think you're a little bit misled because, you know, that would have been for a lot smaller
Okay, please address us.
versus, that would have been for a smaller parcel versus the back end. And, you know, I just wanted to show you, this is the pictures of the lot itself. And, you know, it looks like this all the way around it, and we have been operating there. No complaints. And I just brought in some pictures of, you know, some of the lots on Lakeview Drive right now, you know, that are, you know, we're not messy, we're not going to, we like things nice and neat, so,
All right, thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Ma'am, if we can get a copy of those for our records, you want to just hand them to Kara there? Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve with conditions, to disapprove, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for RZ 22-01-05 to be rezoned from RA to S1.
So you're making a motion to approve
To approve.
with conditions.
With conditions.
All right, do I hear a second? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 4-0. And we do have one variance here. Mr. Butler filed VA 220102, and the applicant has asked us to postpone this until 2/20.
Well, they haven't asked us.
Okay.
We've said we're gonna postpone it.
Okay, got it.
Fort Gordon hasn't gotten back to us yet.
So with that in mind, it's been advertised, so we'll go ahead and conduct the public hearing.
Yeah, so again, this is a request for a variance, section 9-98 lists lot structure requirements to permit buildings over 55 feet in height at 3157 and 3165 Gordon Highway, currently zoned CC. Shows location of the property on the north side of Gordon Highway at Parham Road. Again, the current zoning of the property. Also aerial view of the site. So the property itself, these two lots here are within Richmond County. So this, again, this was rezoned about a year and a half ago. This has been quite a coordination effort between Fort Gordon, Augusta, and also Columbia County, and also Grovetown as well. So it's been quite an undertaking. That's all I'll say on that side. This is the existing site. The other side as well, looking at Gate 6, and the plat of the property for 3157 and also 3165. And this is the overall site plan. So again, you have nearly 500,000 square feet of office, associated parking. And this would all be probably likely to be contractors for Fort Gordon. This is the long-awaited cyber facility, perhaps, for the Fort. And it shows the elevation of the property. So let me go back real quick in terms of why we're looking at this. Because again, we have in the past done things, for instance, Amazon, which only had to go for planning commission, and it was very quick. The reason for that is if you have property that's zoned C2, C3, M1, or M2, you can basically go to the fire marshal and say, I need to increase my height. And they say, we're okay with that, then it comes from the planning commission and that's it. If you're zone C1 or CC though, you have to go through the whole process. The thought process behind that is that those two zones are likely gonna be close to residential. And those are where you could have an issue where, again, you have a C1 property right next to a neighborhood, you don't want something that's 100 feet high next to that perhaps. That's kind of why why we would go through the whole process in this manner. In terms of what they're requesting, this is 86 feet in height, so again, 31 feet higher than it would be normally. One of the reasons they've said that is it will have skiff space within it, which requires a 14-foot high ceiling. So again, you can see here you have about 5 stories worth of building. Then you have on top of it the screening of the RTUs and all that, or rooftop units. Well, in terms of materials, you have brick and stucco. Again, pretty normal office building in terms of what's going to look like. Again, it is very large, nearly 500,000 square feet worth of office. And again, the more elevations for the buildings. And again, in terms of the height from the county standpoint, this is located very far off the road. Our fire marshal is okay with this. Does have a comment regarding that. The fire chief is also corresponding with on this. We've all definitely are okay with the height itself. The reason we're recommending postponing, the fort is still looking at this. We have not received a comment from them. That's why we are looking to postpone until the next meeting. That includes staff recommendation.
All right, gentlemen, any questions? Is the applicant here this evening? Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to postpone until February 20th, 2022.
January 20th.
January 20th, I'm sorry.
Mr.
Put
Chairman,
down February.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to postpone and file VA 220102, January 2022 meeting, building height at 3157 and 3165 Gordon Highway.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Motion to postpone carries 4-0. We have no legal matters. Do we have any staff or commissioner comments? I'd like to thank everybody coming out for our first meeting of the year. Hopefully we'll get off to another good year. Lots of good things happening in the county. Do we have any public comments? Seeing none, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? Any at all? Who had 6:36?
Come on, man.
All in
Get on.
favor? Motion to adjourn, 6:36, passes 4-0. Thank you for coming out. Next meeting is January 20th at 6 p.m. I hear that the commissioners did